Welcome to the Conquer Public News Network for July the 10th, 2020. I have one of my favorite people on the island right now from my favorite bar, Irish Kevin's, Daylin. Daylin has been an inspiration to me, and she's an amazing person. And whenever she got into the position she's in, Irish Kevin's, she's really kind of transformed the place. And when I was a tourist, I used to come down all the time to Irish Kevin's. That was my absolute favorite place to go.
Yay, that makes me happy. I love when we hear that from people.
I would get on stage and I would be the guy, doing all the crazy stuff on stage. And
now we use your whiskey to do that to other people with.
We use the whiskey on stage or whatever. And now during the COVID-19 shutdown, we can't actually do the whiskey on stage thing.
No,
right?
But we still encourage them to buy their own shots of it.
Yes. So I wanted to bring Daylin in because she is Irish Kevin's is a staple in the community, and it is probably I would say the number 2 bar under Sloppy Joe's from a volume standpoint, in Key West. So you guys are an icon. So as Key West goes through the transition and the COVID-19 shutdown, all the different things are going. You guys are closed currently. When people come down here on vacation, they're like, is Sloppy Joe's open? Is Irish Kevin's open? You guys have an iconic, almost like an obligation to the neighborhood to be open as often as you can and do the things that you can. So tell me how you guys have transitioned through the shutdown.
I think we're trying to navigate it as best as we can, just along with everybody else. It's definitely been hard because there's a lot of new directives coming every single day. It might be 4 o'clock and you get a new one and they're like, this needs to be done at 5. And so you scramble and you try to make it work the best you can. And I think our staff has done a great job doing it. We have door guys that have now become bus boys. We have bartenders that have worked there for years and they've now become hostesses because we're just so focused on maintaining the social distancing and stuff like that. We're trying to give everybody work that we can. So if we don't have room for you as a bartender, we're gonna find somewhere else for you to, work and something else for you to do.
So what are the challenges that you're facing? As you're a high volume bar and people literally cram in there and pack in. You're like, all that kind of stuff in front of the stage. How difficult is it to do? How's it to do like social distancing in a place like that?
I think it was definitely a challenge trying to measure everything out and figure out what works best and everything. We have a lot of great staff. We have our building manager, Tim, my boss, the operations manager, Pavel. They put a lot of time into measuring all the tables, measuring all the stools, making sure everything was perfect. So the biggest challenge for us was just trying to get people to understand that even though you want to be there and we know you want to be up and dancing and walking around and talking to random strangers, because we all listen, I make best friends every time I go out. Yes. I might not remember you the next day, but you were my best friend that night. So that's been the hardest part because that's what we're known for, but people have been doing a really good job at it and they've been respectful, the ones that have been down here, and we appreciate it, Well,
it super sucks, like we're in a situation right now where, and I want to talk about this a little bit, is the fact that this is the new normal, is that we have to social distance. And as people, that's not our nature to social distance. We go to a bar and we drink, we want to hang out and woo, right. All that kind of stuff or whatever, and we want to be on top of each other and I don't even know you. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
I want to just hug you.
I want to hug you and all that kind of stuff, So that's not in the virus, and the doctors will say this, the virus works against your human nature. Right. Because that's how the virus spreads. Even like when you're sick or whatever, like you can't go see your family members and you can't go see your grandparents and all those kind of things. So we're in a, if anyone knows this, it's going to be you. Is that you're running a business that's on the forefront of human interaction, and you're in a position where you have to limit human interaction and be the police for that. And first of all, how are you even the police for that? Yeah. And second of all, like how do you tell this guy not to woo, and hug on this person or whatever, and then you're all of a sudden the asshole.
Well, especially when people have a couple drinks, you try to tell somebody that's sober, or hasn't had anything to drink. They're like, yeah, okay, no problem, I get it. And then you try to tell somebody that's had like 3 or 4 beers or, you know, or whatever, you know,
like, fuck you.
And they're like, what? And then they try to hug you and you're like, stop. You know, I mean, it's really hard to control. And
6 chickens between us.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing the best we can. And I think everybody down here is doing the best they can. And I think everywhere I've gone is doing a really good job. You know, it's just hard. And it's hard when you get people that are coming from places that it's not required. So they come down here and they're like, we don't have to do this where we're from. Why do we have to do it here? And we're like, well, it's not our rule. It's a city's rules. We need to follow them. And, you know, we can still sit at a table and I don't know, like, I feel like I could sit with you and we could like high five next to each other to the music or something. And it'd be good. Like, you've just got to find ways around it to still have a good time without, I don't know, like humping strangers or whatever. And
well, you know, and you know, as much as we want to hump strangers, you know, there's a lot of people that are affected. And when I say there's a lot of people that are affected, you personally have been affected. Your boyfriend's been affected. You know, like it's, you know, the lockdown, the shutdown. You know, everyone that's watching this has been affected in some way. It's a global pandemic. You know, so we're dealing with this as the best that we can. You know, but in a bar atmosphere, you know, you've got bartenders, wait staff, you got security staff, you got all of these different people. So you're responsible for taking care of all these people.
Right.
You're basically the house mom. You know, for all of these people.
I'm old enough to be for some of them.
How many people are on staff at Irish Kevin's?
We have over 70 people on staff there.
70 people.
Yep.
So when you guys are closed, there's 70 people that are out of work.
Yep.
That depend on that money, you know, to pay their bills and all those kind of things. And obviously, you know, people were, you know, filing for unemployment and all that kind of stuff, you know. So how does that make you feel, you know, as the house mom and taking care of these people? Has it been traumatic for you, or?
I mean, I wouldn't say traumatic. It's been, I love everybody I work with so much. We're not just like a staff and these people that come in and work together. We're a family. A lot of the people that have worked there for years. You know, it's people come in looking for a job, and even if we can hire them, we're like, it's going to take a long time to get to where you want to be because nobody leaves. We're a really tight-knit group, so when I see them hurting, it hurts me. So you have a really good retention
rate on your staff.
Yeah, I mean, but if they're hurting or they're struggling, you know, I want to do something for them. And we're really, really fortunate to have an owner that cares so much about everybody. Like I wouldn't say that I'm the house mom. I would say that he's like the house dad. You know, he really looks over everybody. And through this whole thing, he's made sure that everybody's been taken care of, whether it's for, you know, helping them out if they have a car repair that they can't help pay for, or if they need to get groceries. He's just been taking care of the staff.
So individual situations.
You know, he's helping as much as he can when people ask. And on top of that, he's just taking care of the staff the whole time. And that's why people don't leave. I mean, people don't leave because when you have somebody that you want to work for and stuff, you don't want to leave.
You don't want to leave your family.
You're willing to work even harder, you know, for that person. So it makes for a great business atmosphere. Like he's the best. I mean, it's great. Pretty
awesome. You know, I'll have to say this about Irish Kevin's in general. You know, I'm a little biased because it's my favorite bar.
Aww.
Right.
Oh,
so I love Irish Kevin's only because it's like as a tourist, it was my favorite place to go. And when I would come into town, I would go down to Irish Kevin's and hang out at Irish Kevin's, and I just, you know, love seeing Irish Kevin, you know, playing at Irish Kevin.
Yeah. Everybody does.
So also, I think it's important that people understand is that it's like a pulse, right? So Sloppy Joe's and Irish Kevin's and you guys being, you know, shut down kind of sets a tone. It's definitely for the 200 block of the Ball Street. I mean, Rick's is always going to be open and doing their thing. They're a little bit more seedy, and not taken away from that. But you know, Irish Kevin's is it's like Walmart shutting down. You know what I mean?
Can we at least be the Target?
You expect it to be open. You're the Target.
So
Sloppy Joe's is Walmart.
No, I want to be the Target. They can be like, I don't know, JCPenney's, are they still open?
So I don't know if you knew this or not, but so the federal government gauges storms and disasters on how fast that the restaurants get back open.
Right.
Right, and you know how fast the you know things get back on track. And I think that we can almost gauge it the same way as like how fast Irish Kevin's get back on track. And I know we don't have any definitive dates on when you guys are going to open back up.
No, I know Jim wanted all the juicy details, and he was
I wanted an exclusive.
really hoping for this breaking story. And if I have it, you're the first one I'll give it to.
Yeah.
I don't. We take the safety of our staff and our customers. It's our number one priority.
What's the opening plan?
As far as the date, or
are you just once the order gets lifted and you guys can open?
I think we're taking that into we're taking a lot of things into play. We're watching what's going on because, like I said earlier, things change so often. We're just waiting. We're kind of like keeping an eye on everything. We're checking everything every day and just
so you guys
seeing when we can.
After the COVID-19 shutdown, you guys opened back up, and then 3 weeks later had to shut back down because someone tested positive.
Yeah, so we had an independent contractor come in and they tested positive. And just because, again, we wanted to make sure, everybody was safe and stuff, we decided to close down and get our staff tested. We had already put into play that we were going to be closed for 2 weeks because of that. However, the next day, the governor said, bars are closed anyway. So, so now that's where we are.
You personally were on quarantine, right?
I did quarantine for myself because I just, I had been in the office around so many people. I just felt responsible to everybody.
And you were tested.
To do it. I was tested. It wasn't as bad as everybody makes it sound.
Did they do the swab in the nose?
Straight up your nose.
Oh man!
I've broken enough bones that was nothing compared to that.
So wasn't that bad?
It was not that bad. If you have to do it, just do it. You blink, it's done. Well, you blink a couple times, like maybe 50, and then it's done, and you're fine. But it's just.
And you came back negative, so
right. And you're fine. It's just. I just wanted to be responsible. I have friends with kids. I have whatever. I know not everybody gets super sick. But I would feel horrible if I was one of those, one of the people responsible for getting other people sick.
And they call that asymptomatic, right?
Right,
so
exactly.
That's one of the issues with the disease is that, people can transmit the disease that have no symptoms at all.
Right.
And so I could come in and be like, playing music in Irish Kevin's or whatever, and I would have no symptoms or whatever. I got diagnosed with it, and then they come to you and they're like, hey, someone on your staff, tested positive, and you're like, oh, crap.
Right, and you just don't know. Listen, I'm not afraid. I believe whatever. But you asked me earlier how it's affected me, and it's, work-wise and stuff, like I'm still working, I'm still doing stuff in the office, the business still has to run, there are things we still need to do as managers and stuff like that. It's affected me personally, like my sister just had a baby in May.
Congratulations.
Thank you. He's the cutest.
You're an auntie.
I am. But, I was really excited to get home and see him, and I can't because I don't feel that it's safe to travel, and then I would I'd have to quarantine for 14 days.
Then you're leaving Florida.
Yeah, so it's
so people don't realize this, but like right now there's an order in place when you leave Florida. If you come here on vacation and you go back home, you have to quarantine for 14 days.
Right. So my brother's getting married next month, and like I could drive, you know what I mean, but I just don't. Whatever. So it's just it affects people in a lot of ways, and.
So financially, the owner of the bar has been taking care of a lot of people and doing a lot of things, under the table. And we talked about this, is that he's really taking care of the people in the bar, and it's a difficult situation when you're the owner of something.
Right.
Is like, if I pay the people and I keep them on payroll, then I make them disqualified for unemployment. So should I lay them off and let them get the unemployment money because there's the stimulus money and all that kind of stuff that goes on. So it's a very difficult thing to navigate.
He's
as an owner, right?
Yeah, and I can't speak for him, but I know that one of the things that he said when we did close down, his name's Sean McConnell, by the way. When we closed down, his main goal was to reopen with all the same people we closed down with. And we were able to do that, and it was awesome. I don't know if we'll be able to do that this time around, because I don't know how long this will last. And with everything that's going on with unemployment and how long it's taking, he's been very helpful to everybody, but you can only help so many people for so long before you can't, So we're hoping that we can get back up and running and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, does it last 6 months? Does it last a year?
We don't know.
So you heard that they shut down Fantasy Fest.
Yes.
So Fantasy Fest is shut down, and the mayor yesterday in a video, and this is kind of like the news or whatever, is that she shut down every event for the rest of the year.
I'm gonna really miss getting smushed between two old naked people every year. I'm away to the bathroom.
So
I'm like, so sad.
All events
save money on therapy
for the rest of the year have been canceled in Key West. We really, in my opinion, my personal opinion, this is just completely my opinion, is that we needed Fantasy Fest. You know, we needed, even if it was in like a diminished fashion, you know, we needed Fantasy Fest, we needed the Conquer Public Independence Celebration, we needed boat races, we needed all these things. Like, people need to understand is that these events that happen in Key West are the lifeblood of what keeps everyone employed.
It also is what makes Key West, you know. But I think, and everybody's always says that I say on the bright side, I think people are still going to be here. You know, we're just not going to have the official Fantasy Fest events like the parade and
I heard people
things
say
like that,
they were going to have their own event or whatever, right? So the original Fantasy, Luigi was here last night, which is Captain Tony's son.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And he was talking about the first time that they had Fantasy Fest back in in the day, and he's like, what the hell's going on? You know, there's like people just marching down Duval Street with like, you know, dressed up, you know, and drag or kind of whatever. It was a gay festival initially. You know, it was Fantasy Fest. You know, so you have a fantasy about how you want to dress up, and that's how Fantasy Fest was created. It was a gay thing initially, and like he's looking at the door, and he was like, "What the hell's going on?" He's like, all the gay people are like going down Duval Street in drag, and that was how Fantasy Fest was created. So there's a lot of talk this year about now that's not a city sanctioned thing, and they don't have permits or whatever. They just want to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are still going to do it. You know, I'm brainstorming.
Resilience.
Yeah, I'm brainstorming ways Irish Kevins can, you know, we can have all these events throughout the week with the proper social distancing and stuff, but still help raise money for what Fantasy Fest always does raise money for. Like, we still want to be a part of that. It's such a big deal for us.
And they created a fund.
Right. They created the Fantasy Fest fund. Yeah, Nadine Grossman.
Yeah.
Did that. So we'd like to contribute to that.
That's going to give back to the workers.
Yep.
Basically.
Everybody down here that'll be affected by it and stuff like that.
I mean, Fantasy Fest is millions of dollars. That's a lot of money.
It's a ton for the city. And I'm just going to tell you this really fast story.
Okay.
My first Fantasy Fest down here, you know, I was young and naive and I love Halloween. So I was like, this is going to be awesome. And I was working at Bacardi Bar, that back bar at Irish Kevin's. And I'm like, oh yeah, and this couple had been there all night and they were so nice and they're like, can we get your number to hang out with you? And I was like, oh my God, for sure. And as I was writing my number down, Irish Kevin walked by and he's like, hey, and kind of pulled me to the side and he's like, they want to have sex with you. And I was like, what? I'm like, what? I was like, what do you mean?
It's a swinger couple.
And he's like, they're swingers. And I was like, no. I'm like, they want to hang out. I'm like, and they
chill, hang out.
Yeah, I was like, they want to hang out, and they said I can bring Colin too. And he was like, oh my God, like, he's
swap.
like, this is your first year, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so now anytime anybody's like, I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'll share a lot of things. I'm not sharing my boyfriend.
Do you mind me asking you a question? Did you give him your number and continue on with it?
I changed the last digit because he
did you really? Oh my God! It's like McDonald's.
They came down for
God.
like. They've come down every Fantasy Fest since them, and I like can see them, and I'm like, so they're still around. I know for a fact.
Well, you know, this is a difficult time that we're in. You know, it was very important for me to interview you today because you know, like I said, it's the pulse of Key West. I honestly, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. You know, like I think that, you know, Irish Kevin's and Sloppy Joe's. You know, it's for those who don't know, Sloppy Joe's has been closed the entire time, and they must have like a crap ton of money because their rent is outrageous. So they're just like they've done, you know, the socially responsible thing, have been closed the entire time or whatever. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, this is a business, and you have to, you know, support the people that are in the business. You know, the waitresses and the staff that are in there, and the bar backs and the people in the kitchen, the people you don't even see depend on this money to support their family.
And not even the ones, that are all here. Like, we have a lot of staff that are Haitian, and they support their families back home as well.
Send money back.
Yeah,
back
so
home.
some of them work. Irish Kevin's takes care of them and stuff, but they still work 2 jobs because they don't just need the money to support themselves and their families here. They're doing it to support their families back there. So this isn't just affecting everybody here; it's also affecting them. So there's a lot going on that I think, it is what it is. I think the hard thing for us is it's hard to understand the governor's reasoning all the time.
Right.
I totally respect.
Do we really understand politicians, though?
Right, I mean, I don't understand.
Could you imagine being a politician?
I don't understand one-way roads sometimes. So it's just hard, because we want to follow everything we're given and stuff. We just felt like as Irish Kevins, we're such a large space, okay? Our capacity, when the directive finally came down to reopen, we didn't reopen at 50%.
What is your capacity?
It's 275.
275.
So we were allowed to run at 50%.
I'm pretty sure there's been 1,000 people in there.
I mean,
1,000 times.
I don't know. But we've never, ever since this has started, we've still ran at 30%. So
30%.
30%, just because we wanted to maintain social distancing. So you know how big the building is.
Yeah.
So it's hard to understand when he says
it's got to feel
bars
weird.
and restaurants and stuff.
When you have because you're the kind of place where you need people in there to really have the atmosphere, right?
We were fortunate enough to have our friends at Catered Affairs lend us tables. So we made the bar, we made tables, and we've done all these things to do what we needed to do to be able to run, But it is hard when the governor says, like, well, restaurants are okay, but bars aren't. And if you sell this much food and whatever, and we're like, hey, and listen, I personally wrote the governor a letter, and I invited
him.
Really? Yes, I did. And I invited him to come down and take a tour of Irish Kevin's, and I said, dear governor, please come down.
You wrote an open letter to the governor.
An open letter to the governor. I said, please come down and take a tour of Irish Kevin's, because I want you to see that we actually probably have better social distancing than some of the places that you're allowed to, allowing to stay open.
Did the governor respond to you?
No. But, he's a busy man, so.
He's got a lot going on right now.
He apparently didn't recognize my name.
He's like, oh, that Irish Kevin.
Maybe it didn't get passed to him yet, because I'm sure when he sees it, he'll be like, I can't believe you guys didn't give this to me sooner. But, I mean, hey, Governor, if you're watching, you have an open invitation to come on down.
The Governor.
Yeah. No, that's my nickname. I've had that nickname for
Have you really?
Because
you stole the Governor name?
My first time voting.
Are you from California?
No, my first time voting was during when Obama and Sarah Palin were running.
Oh, okay.
And Colin said, Governor Daylin, because it sounded like Palin.
Oh,
and then he started calling me the governor, and then everybody started calling me the governor, and now it's just this
You're like the governor.
It's so stupid. I could think of worse things to be called.
So as the governor of Duval Street.
No, that would not be me.
But I can't say this enough, and that this is the kind of the spirit of the interview and the thing is that we're all looking for a normalcy. Whatever that is, like we got to wear masks, we got to have social distance, we got to whatever, but the normalcy that we all seek, is part of that normalcy is the 200 block of Duval Street in Key West.
Yeah.
And you guys getting back open, Sloppy Joe's getting back open, and there's just things that you need in your life that oh my God, like the world is right again.
I know.
Right? You know what I mean? And you as the manager, co-manager, or whatever, of Irish Kevin's, you're on the front lines, and you see all these the people, you see the layoffs, you see the issues, you see all of these things. I mean, it is a toll that's being taken on those people right now, and the issue is that we don't know where the end is.
Right.
So I wanted from you was a date Irish Kevin's is going to open back up.
And
you're literally sitting there going, I don't know.
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth, So you're sitting there right now talking about how you don't know when the business is going to open back up.
Yeah, we don't know.
And
we don't know what's happening.
The viability of the business is dependent on that. Like the dependency of the people that are working for you, the dependency of the owner who has an investment in the business, you as the manager. This is like a weight that carries on your shoulders on a daily basis, because you got not just me, you got 100 and something people every single day sending you text messages going, "Hey, Daylin, this weekend?
My phone
this
is
weekend?
Not swimming in the ocean yet, but
this weekend."
Almost been a couple times.
And we don't, the governor didn't give us any directive at all as far as, we're going to be shut down for 30 days and we're going to open back up in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or 180 days.
I think that's what's hard. Every time they give you a rule or a directive or whatever, that just...
There's no time frame.
It's like, hey, Jen, you can't drink Bud Lights. And you're like, till when?
Until we decide
there's no directions. There's no part, it's just coming in one piece at a time. So it's hard, and there's a lot of things going in right now.
I watched a video yesterday that I shared that it was the Key TV thing.
Yeah. Right,
and they were talking about, and I want to leave it on this light, is that, and we kind of go harken back to a time when we didn't have COVID-19 and face masks and so 6 chickens apart and all that kind of stuff. Is that we came, we drank, we don't remember.
Right.
That is what Irish Kevin's is all about, is the good times, the good times had by all. People come down and have their vacation and come in there and they drink, but they had a good time and they don't remember. But they know when they wake up the next day that, oh my God.
We like when you remember to pay your tab. If you don't, though, you can come do it the next day or what. It's fine.
On a personal note, let me ask this: if someone leaves their credit card at your bar, do you keep them the next day? And then people go, "Hey, my."
Yeah, we usually try to find them actually, because we've all been.
I've done that a million times.
We've all been in that position that we have done it. Where you're calling your friend like, "Hey, did I pay my tab last night? Did I tip you enough?" And they're like, "Dude, you."
So do you guys run the tab out at the end of the night?
We do. We have to close it out. We close it out, no tip or anything. You know what I mean? We close it out for what their tab is.
The bartender loses out on the tip.
They do, but you know what? It happens. We've all been there. I feel like for me, the people that I do that to,
I've left my card at Rick's a lot.
Yeah, I always think I do. Yeah. And I don't. I'm always like, here's all my money out of my purse.
It wasn't the last.
And they're like, your bill was $5. You gave me $200. I'm like, this is why I'm always poor. But it happens to everybody. So it's like you never get.
And it always seems like service industry people always tip the most.
Oh yeah,
because you're like 15%. No, 50%.
Yeah, and I will say this. So since things did start to get reopened down here. All of the tourists, first of all, it's mind blowing to me. I keep up on every page, your page, Key West Underground, Key West Locals, all these pages, because I think I love to listen to them and see what people have to say. And it is mind blowing to me how many people right now are telling tourists not to come down here.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
And, even in the time that we were open, the tourists that were here were not tipping 10%, 20%. They were tipping 50, 100%.
Seriously?
They were.
They wanted to give money.
They wanted to give back to Key West. They knew. Yeah. So we were so appreciative of everybody that been here. So it's frustrating and hard. And I never comment on them because I feel like I represent, Irish Kevin.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I don't like to give my personal opinion on things sometimes. But my personal opinion is just shut up. If you're commenting that you don't need tourists, you're obviously not in that business.
Well, and
but
the
if you'd like to contribute, feel free.
The reason I created the Key West Underground page was specifically because I seen so much just slamming. I get if you're on the page of don't come down here because you're killing us.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, I get that. I totally understand that. You can just stay home.
Right. Definitely.
But people, and that's the reason I have you on the show, is because that there's people behind the business, and they're sitting at home and they're not making any money and they're going broke, and they either have to leave the island, they can't pay their rent. How many people you think are on the verge of getting kicked out of their place?
A lot. I think a lot of people would have
Nobody's
been
paying their
kicked
rent.
out if they weren't, if that directive wasn't put in place.
There's a moratorium right now on evictions. Right. So for those who don't know, so the governor passed, one of his emergency orders was that he passed a moratorium on eviction. Well, at some point they're all going to get evicted.
Right. Or your rent's not being forgiven. You have to pay all that money back.
The rent is not being forgiven. The rent's not being forgiven. The mortgages are not being forgiven. Yeah. Like the money still racks up.
Right.
You know, the rent at Irish Kevin's, and Irish Kevin actually told me this, was $70,000 a month.
Yeah. I mean, he's not the owner anymore, so I don't know where he would get that number from. But
think about, he was paying it for a while. So obviously Irish Kevin was paying the rent, and so even if you just like randomly throw out a number and say $70,000 a month.
Even 40,000. I mean, I don't know.
40, 50, 70. Right. At some point, it's all just money thrown out the door, and you're not making any income back on the money. So when you get into a business, you're looking for a return on your investment. Right. So if you're paying out $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month, and then your employees are all out of work,
and you're not open,
and you have, what is your income? $0. Right. You still have electricity, and you still have water bill, and you still have trash pickup, and you still have all these things. I mean, that they kind of come down a little bit, but at the same time, like even at Irish Kevin's, I mean, your electric bill, you still have electricity on every day, right?
Right. I mean, you have to have, keep the beer cool, and I
don't even know. Yeah,
like to take a case here and there.
So that being said, the beer is cold at Irish Kevin's.
It is.
Right now, yeah. So
maybe if you know somebody.
So can we say this? Can we say that the beer has maintained a cold status?
Yes.
The entire
beer
time
has stayed cold. It is fresh.
So when you walk in Irish Kevin's, when you guys finally open, it's going to be an ice cold, amazing beer.
And like I said, fresh. 'Cause we had everything.
So all right, I'm gonna wrap this up, but tell me what the plans for the future are when you guys open back up. Do you guys have like any master evil plans as far as like how you're gonna take over the world?
Can I have a Bud Light?
Oh yeah,
and then
you can have anything you want.
That's my bargaining chip here.
So tell us the plans for the future when Irish Kevin's gets back open. Do you have like a big shindig you guys are gonna have, or like a back open party or something?
So we're hoping to be back open by September 17th, so it can be our halfway to St. Patrick's Day party.
It seems like a random date.
It's halfway to St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, the halfway party.
Yes.
Okay.
Our hey, sorry we had to close at 5 on St. Patrick's Day. We're gonna just rage today. Probably at 50% or 30 as we've been running. But
so we're gonna rage.
We're gonna do the best we can, even if it's while you're sitting at your table. We are gonna make it happen. Oh, sorry, almost had to sneeze. We're gonna make it happen though, so we have that plan. We want to try to do.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Maybe. Last time you did this, things got weird.
when you're off work,
really.
When you're off work, do you hang out at Irish Kevin's?
You never. Like when most people when they work, they want to get away from work.
If you're working at a pizza place, you don't want to hang out at the pizza place when you get off work.
I would say 99.9, but I'm gonna just say 100% of the people that work there, when they're off work and they're downtown drinking with their friends, they always come to Irish Kevin's
to meet you.